everybody, welcome to episode number 28 of Courage
Pays Better Than Fear.
And we are back at you. Very excited to be off of the hiatus. And Edmund, it's so good to be sitting here with you recording a brand new episode of the show, man.
Bro, I appreciate you, giving me some time off here because the last couple months, honestly, the holiday season, it was a rough one, right? It's it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the time. But I am grateful for it. It was a beautiful, beautiful holiday. Got to spend time with the friends, family. So that's something that I can be thankful for later. We'll talk about that.
And now we are back here, episode 28. It's been a little bit of a gap from when we recorded last until now. But like Edmund says, sometimes life has got to take precedence over the projects that you're working on to get things in order. And we're actually going to talk about that today. In this episode, we're talking the importance of the adventure in your life, and not the adventure in the terms you're thinking of it, like you're going on a hike into the woods or looking for some long lost artifact, but
talking about the highs and the lows.
The highs and the lows.
Right? Because there's peaks and valleys throughout life, man. And I know a lot of times, like, you guys see us all the time and we're always energetic, smiling. But, behind the scenes is life, right? You got family, you got marriages, you got friends, you have business. Like, it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the time. And
trading losses,
right? Real estate losses sometimes, right? But it's not all rainbows and butterflies all the time. So we just want to keep it real with you. We want to share the highs. We want to share the lows. I'll talk about some of the lows today. But, it's just encouragement for those of you that are out there and might be going through a low point in your life. We will, hopefully this podcast today will benefit you, and help out in some way, because that's all we're here to do.
Yep. And I do have to coach you up a little bit. I could tell it's been a little bit of time since you recorded, because
I'm shaking the table.
I saw it. Shaking the camera. Anyway, as we always start the show, it used to be the Furious Three, but now it is the Thankful Three. So Mr. Fontana, you're up.
Oh, I ain't heard Mr. Fontana in a while. I hear Mr. Fontana, I'm like this. Where they at? Right? Get them kids away from
Shout out to Chip.
Yeah. Chippers. What's going on? Thankful three. So I just got to be, like I said earlier, thankful for my friends, my family. I had a great holiday season. It wasn't my best holiday season by any means, but it was, everybody was still under the same roof. I had friends and family, being supportive, just kind of struggling a little bit, right, in certain areas of my life. And, we'll talk more about that later, but it just kind of is what it is, right? The other thing I'm thankful for is I'm thankful for time, right? Time and staying in the present. And that's something we'll talk about as well later on, but just time heals all wounds. It really does. Every time there's something bad out there that you just think is never going to end, you just give it time and it always goes away. Or it may not be perfect, but it definitely goes away. So time is something I'm very thankful for. And what else? My business partners, man, they're just so great. We just have such an amazing time together. I'm talking about Michael Lush, Nate Lambert, Derek, Matt Workman. We just have such an amazing time. We had our Christmas party over this past December, and we all just get along so great. And it's been, one hell of a ride, man, with Replace Your University, and things are looking good. And I can't wait for more of you to learn about Replace Your University, all of the pathways that they have. I'm excited. So what about you?
Awesome, man. I'm not sharing what I'm grateful for. It's your turn. I'm not going to step on your toes.
All right.
I'm not going to. We'll plug some things at the end about, what's going on. But part of what I'm going to share.
I'm grateful for this background, man. This is a nice background.
Don't mess with the wall, bro.
All right. Might come
mess with the
down.
wall. We got to initial, or when we have a guest in person.
This isn't Trump's wall, is it?
This guy. Anyway, today.
It's built to keep me out. What are you talking about?
Okay. Anyway, episode 28, we are talking about the importance and purpose of adventure in your life. And adventure meaning embarking on a journey that is going to challenge you, push you out of your comfort zone. I think that if you follow the show for any period of time, you know that Edmund and I, we try to exemplify that. We've been in positions where we live that comfortable, safe life. We've taken risks. You've helped me do that, taking a risk now.
Yeah.
And both of us really have taken some unique paths here to start this year. And it really started last year. And
where it ends up a year later,
we don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's almost like a documentary, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But if you want to go ahead and get started and talk about your adventure and where you're at.
Man, I'll tell you. So guys, these last 6 months have been one hell of a ride for me. You know, everything's great, everybody's healthy, all of that, but sometimes, you know, when you think things are good and you realize, like, you know what, they're not, right? So just to kind of be blunt about it, you know, like, just every area of my life that you guys see me in, you might see me on camera, you might see me, you know, on YouTube, you might see me on social media, like, oh, everything's perfect, right? It's not always perfect. There's behind the scenes stuff that always goes on in every family, that always goes on in every marriage, that always goes on in, you know, every relationship, to where you're like, you know, like, I got to put some work in. And there came a point in time where I realized, like, I had to put some work in on my marriage because things weren't exactly where I thought they were. And, you know, I had to step up as a man and say, you know what, I got to accept responsibilities for some things. I had to look in the mirror and say, what are you doing, right, to be for your wife to feel this way, or for your wife to feel a certain way. And I just had to accept responsibility for a lot of the ways that she was feeling. And I had to step up as a man. And what that led to is I had to go get counseling, right? Like, I had to talk to a counselor and figure out my bullshit, honestly, just to be blunt about it, and to figure out where I was failing, because I didn't realize that I thought I was doing everything right. I was a great provider. I was a great provider. I was a great, well, I thought I was a great husband, right? But there were things that I needed to work on. What was the other thing I was saying?
Father,
yeah,
father.
an amazing father, right? So I knew I was an amazing father. So I thought I had the whole package complete, but, you know, obviously I didn't. About 6 months ago, you know, my wife came to me and was like, look, I'm feeling a certain way. There's some things I really need you to step up on. Here they are, A, B, C, D. And, you know, at first you get defensive, and then you're just like, you know what? Maybe she's right, and you got to take a good look at yourself. And that's what I had to do. And I went out there and I seeked the help that I needed. And guess what? We're all under the same roof still. My kids are still, you know, my kids are happy. So that I encourage you guys out there that if you're having problems, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's with an addiction, or whether it's with anything in life, one, understand that it will go away. Time heals all wounds. But two, as a man, it's hard sometimes to go ask for help, right? Mm-hmm. It's hard to ask another person or another woman, you know, hey, please help me. I got these issues going on. I need to talk about. Go talk about it, because I have learned so much through my counselors, right? To where I feel like I'm a different person from where I was 6 months ago. Don't you think?
100%. 100%. Yeah. And, you know,
and my wife would agree.
In a good way. In a good way. Right.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I wanted to press on a little bit, have you talk about, is you mentioned the ego component of this.
Yes.
And that looking in the mirror to say, you know what, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
That's hard to do.
It's hard to do. Can you talk about how what that process was like, and how you approached it, and how you're still working on that?
Yeah. So, you know, I didn't understand much about living in your conscious mind and living in your unconscious mind, right? A lot of the times we live in our thoughts, right? And sometimes these thoughts are intrusive thoughts. And you start to believe that you are your thoughts. And this is like your unconscious mind that is speaking to you, right, on a regular basis. And they all come from like traumas in the past, fear, you know, all that stuff. And then you start to believe in those thoughts, and you start to project those thoughts on other people. But what I found out was that's essentially your ego back there messing with you. Right? Like, you are not your ego. You are not your thoughts, right? You need to be the overseer of your thoughts. And there's this book called The Power of Now. I'm telling you what, if you guys haven't read this book, I forget
Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Power of Now, man. It was an amazing book. And it just helped me realize like I need to be the overseer of my thoughts and I need to be the filter of my thoughts. So when intrusive thoughts come into my mind about a relationship or about business or about money or about whatever, I need to say, where's the evidence, right? Where's the evidence that that intrusive thought is real? And 9 times out of 10, there is none. And then then you start disputing your ego and you really start to find out who you are as an actual person because you are not your ego. You are not those intrusive thoughts that sometimes come to mind. It all comes from, past traumas as kids, past traumas in other relationships. Trauma is real. And a lot of the times it doesn't hit you until you're in your 40s. And here I am 43 and I'm like, why in the hell am I working through things that happened to me in my teenage years and my mid-20s, that sort of stuff. Like it's crazy, but it's part of the process. It is part of the healing journey.
Yeah. Yeah. That's deep. And it's an everyday grind, right?
This
is not something that you're just gonna, oh, hey, it's fixed.
No, it's not fixed by any means.
Process.
So one thing I want to talk about is living in the present, right? So what I've learned from, going to counseling, I have a lot of anxiety. A lot of people wouldn't even, think that when they meet me, but I have a lot of anxiety because I'm worried about the future all the time. Well, if you're worrying about the future, you're anxiety ridden, right? If you're worried about the past all the time and things that you've done, you suffer from depression, right? But if you live in the present, like right now, if I were to say right now, in the present, what problems am I currently having? Nothing, right? Your brain can't create problems, right? If you're living in the present moment, because right now, this is great, right? Like I'm hanging out with Jeremy. We're doing a podcast. We're doing the 28th episode. And right now, everything is great. But this is really all we have is right now, this second.
Yeah.
And if you can remind yourself to live in that second, to live in that minute, right? Your problems go away because your brain won't allow you to create problems because all you have is right now, because you can't worry about the future. I can't worry about what's going to happen 24 hours from now. God forbid I could leave here and get into a car accident and that'd be it. What is the point of wasting my time worrying about something that's going to happen 6 months from now? I have to worry about now. And then the other thing is beating yourself up in the past, right? Like there's things that I've done in my past that I'm not happy about. Even as a teenager, there's still things that I, think about all the time. And I'm just like, you know what? You were a punk when you were younger. And, you may have been mean to this person or said something to that person. And like, it kind of, it can wear on you. But then you got to forgive yourself, right? You got to forgive yourself. You got to realize who you were, where you were at that point in time. Because everybody changes. And there's one other thing I learned in counseling is it's funny when people say, oh, I've been with my wife 15 years, I've been with my wife 20 years. She's not the same person. She's not the same person that I married. No shit. It's 15 years later, right? It's 20 years later. So they're not going to be the same person. You're not going to be the same person. You have to relearn each other. You have to choose one another. And really, that's what it came down to. These last 6 months is my wife and I had to choose each other again and again and again and again because, we were struggling. And this is probably the roughest part of my marriage I've ever went through, but we're still here. We're still doing it. We're still grinding. We're still working hard, but it's working, right? Yeah. Our communication is better than it's ever been, I think, right? Without me getting defensive and being a jerk all the time. But guys, it's a struggle out there. There's highs and there's lows. And right now, I'm kind of in the between stage. So I'm out here. I'm giving you guys my best right now. I'm being honest. I'm being vulnerable. Everybody goes through stuff. And the biggest thing I could say is ask for help when it's needed.
Yeah. And that is your life adventure.
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And it's going to make you a better person at the end of all this, because like you said, there will be an end.
Absolutely.
To the challenge.
Yeah.
Like to where it's not a challenge anymore, but you'll be a better person.
Yeah.
For it. And it's a beautiful journey, even though it's difficult.
It is. It's like I hear all the time, like your growth is uncomfortable. And I'll tell you, like, I grew more over these last 6 months than I have probably in the last 10 years. And personally. And it was uncomfortable. I'm talking about, you know, you sitting in your feelings, like sitting in a room quietly in your feelings, right? Just being quiet, meditating, and going through the thoughts that are happening in your mind, going through the emotions, right? Emotions are temporary, right? Emotions are not permanent. But having to go through them and understand them and just sit in them, man, it makes my skin crawl thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was probably one of the most difficult things, but it's gotten easier and easier and easier and less and less and less over time because I'm putting the work in. But was it uncomfortable? Absolutely. Absolutely uncomfortable.
Damn.
Yeah.
Bro, I think we got to split up this episode into two parts because your life journey and my life journey, there's two ends of the spectrum. I think, you know, yours more focused on that relationship, personal piece. For me, more of the business side of things. And so I think your story owns this episode. Like, this has got to be,
we could do two episodes.
This has got to be.
If not, we'll be on here for an hour.
I know, that's such a good story. But how about just as we wrap up episode 28, advice for people who are maybe in the situation that you were or currently are, and how to move forward.
Yeah, guys, if you're, you know, ladies, gentlemen, if you're struggling out there, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in an addiction, or, you know, whether it's just like with yourself, you haven't been operating at your highest level, stop and take a look in the mirror. Okay, stop blaming everybody else. Stop being a victim. You know, stop all that and just look in the mirror and say, what am I doing, or what did I do to get myself in this position right now? And that's, you know, that was a big moment for me. And it sucks, right? Looking at yourself and telling yourself, what did I do? What mistakes did I make to get myself in this position with my wife right now? You know, it wasn't easy. And my ego in the back of my mind is telling me nothing. It's not your fault. It's always hers, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Right. I had to dispute that because the evidence was it wasn't necessarily all her fault. A lot of it was me. So take a good look in the mirror. Don't be afraid to ask for help, right? Whether it's a counselor, whether it's a friend, a mentor, us, right? Myself, Jeremy, reach out to us. We have resources. We know who to link you up with. We can help you through that journey. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it, right? That's the biggest thing I would say is embrace the journey, embrace it. It's going to be miserable. It's going to hurt. It's going to drive you absolutely insane sometimes. But I promise you at the end of that road, and my road's not over yet, but at the end of the road, I know whatever happens, happens, and it's going to happen naturally. And I'm going to be a better person at the end of this road, no matter what happens, right? But so far, things are looking up.
Yeah.
I can't complain.
And it's like we talked the other day, it could be your best, worst year.
It could be my best, worst year ever. Yeah.
So that's going to do it. Episode 28, Edmund, thank you for your candor, your genuineness, your authenticity. I know the audience is feeling that. Drop your comments, you know, share this with your family and friends.
Because
you're supposed to say
smash the subscribe button.
Damn, you're rusty. Damn, you're rusty.
I know I'm shaking the table. I messed up the ending, but it's all right.
It's all good. That's going to do for episode number 28. We'll see you back here for episode number 29 because courage
pays better than fear.
Have a great day, everyone.